A very good evening to everyone present on the Zoom platform as well as on the Facebook. The education sector has seen rapid changes in the wake of the pandemic, with schools and colleges finding different ways to adapt to the new situation. It has resulted in educational institutions across the world being compelled to suddenly harness and utilize the switch of available technological tools to create content for remote learning for students. Educators are experiencing new possibilities to do things differently with greater flexibility. Thus, we are seeing education in a different way. There is a new phase to it. To help us guide on this new phase, today we are extremely excited to have with us one of the most creative and talented principals, Mrs. Asha Narayanan. With over 16 years of experience as principal of different schools, Mrs. Narayanan is presently heading the Lodha World School and Lodha Institute of Teacher Education, and is also the Dean of the Sriram World School, Pallava campus. She has very successfully conducted and led teacher trainings in design thinking, skilling sessions for teachers, tech integration to curriculum, webinar on online teaching and learning for 130 principals across schools in Mumbai. Without taking much of your time, I would like to request Mrs. Narayanan to please take over.
Thank you, Pradipto, for that very warm welcome.
You're most
Thank you,
welcome.
Lata, for having set up this entire platform for us. And thank you, participants. I am so happy to see all of you here today. And it gives me immense pleasure. It is my honor and privilege to see so many of you whom I know personally and so many others who have come by personal invitation. My heartfelt thanks to each one of you. Now, let's start this conversation called The New Face of Education. And I am restricting my conversation to schooling. It's but evident that since we are confined to the space of schooling, my conversation will be entirely about schooling. And I say it's a conversation because I want each one of you to be involved in the whole process of this session. Now, what is schooling? Simply put, it is the education received at school. Today, let's have a discussion on how schooling is going to emerge in the post-COVID times. We hear a lot about how things are not going to be the way they were when we left in mid-March. And so let's examine this as we go along this discussion. The setting is a school. The chief players are our teachers and our students. They are in the rink. The parents, the management, and the community are watching the game from the sidelines, the galleries, or in the stands. From time to time, our regulatory authorities throw in googlies that threaten to change the rules of the game. Also, the latest game changer is COVID. And the new prop in our game is technology. And the government keeps us on our toes even today, challenging us with wanting to control online schooling time or reducing the portion and so on and so forth. So it is in this context that I wish to have this conversation with each one of you. So let's begin with the scene that is emerging. There is a global scene and there is a local scene. Now, is the starting line same across the globe? COVID has been a great leveler, and workforce readiness is a primary focus. A question that's bothering each one of us is, when are we reopening? So let's take the emerging scene. As per the figures estimated by the WEF, along with UNESCO and UNICEF. They have put a modest estimate to the losses and converted it into dollars. That is what makes sense. Let's have these statistics. Due to pandemic-related learning losses, students currently in school are estimated to face a $10 trillion reduction in lifetime earnings in the future. Even before the pandemic, it was estimated that by 2030, more than half of the world's children and young people would not have the skills or qualifications necessary to participate in the emerging global workforce. Now, we are forced to rethink that in the wake of COVID-19, education systems have to be reimagined. This is an extremely important opportunity to reimagine learning and equip students with cognitive, creative, the social, emotional, and psychomotor skills that we all so desire as teachers and as stakeholders in education. Across the world, education systems responsive to COVID mean that students are not entering the same classrooms that they left earlier this year. It is a daunting prospect, but also an opportunity to reimagine learning and modernize our education systems. Now let's look at what is happening in South Asia. A report by the World Bank as late as 2 weeks ago, in the report Beaten or Broken, have given us some figures which can be discussed in today's context. The consequences of 6 months of learning losses. There's a substantial loss of learning translating into a lifetime of impact on the productivity of the generation of students in South Asia. And this has been put at $622 million. Again, this is a figure in the future. Also, students have stopped learning. Some of them have forgotten what they have learned earlier. There's an enormous setback to nations which are already dealing with a learning curve and a learning crisis. Governments will have to ponder upon to mitigate any loss to whatever extent possible. This is a huge challenging task. And if you look at the graph, $622 million is the estimate for South Asia. This is largely driven by India, and the figure for India is $400 million in the $1 billion in the future. $1 billion here. Small typo there. So it will be years before we are able to put this loss in figures, and the intangible losses may never get accounted for. Now, is the starting line the same across the globe? What happens in America is what is happening here. And what is happening here is happening in any school across any continent. All schools today look alike. The uniform may be different, the faces may change, and the geography dispersed, but the story of every school is more or less the same. When I talk to my niece in Chicago, she tells me that they too are schooling her child online. Another relative of mine who is a support teacher in another school in the US says they are also facing similar challenges. Time dedicated online, don't know if the children are learning anything, difficult to know what is happening behind that video not turned on. So I would like to say the finishing line was wiped out, and today all of us have gathered around a new starting line. Samiksha, can we have this video, please?
Classrooms. In Europe, early reports suggest that sending kids back to school has not led to a significant increase in infections. But there are still concerns over how to keep children safe, with the number of reported cases globally now above 5 million. Holly Williams reports on what different nations are doing.
They're disinfecting classrooms in South Korea, keeping a safe distance apart in France, practicing their hand washing in Denmark, and having their temperature checked in Belgium.
Temperature is normal. Pass, please.
As children begin heading back to school around the globe, the new normal comes with lots of new rules. It won't be the same, said 10-year-old Clara in France. We can't give hugs anymore, but at least it can stop the virus. The reopening of schools in 22 European countries has reportedly not caused a spike in infections, though some have only been open for just over 2 weeks. At this school in Belgium, they've replaced the school bell with the theme from Star Wars. An attempt to inject some fun at a stressful time. For many parents, there's still worry, though it's coupled with relief. More than 1.5 billion students have had their schooling interrupted, according to the UN. And while some have the resources to learn at home, others are missing out entirely on weeks or even months of education.
All right. Thank you. So, on a lighter note, although the situation was very grim 6 months ago and until a couple of months ago, COVID has played a great leveler. The latest on the price catch, and if we were to say it, that China is having the last laugh, is Donald Trump contracting COVID a couple of weeks ago. And even the fortress called the White House has not been spared a visit by the tiny microbe. The rich, the poor, the famous, the commoner, the haves and the have-nots are all in the same boat. Each one of us can narrate 1 or 2 COVID stories in our personal lives. So, what becomes critical here is schooling directly leading to workforce readiness. What are we all working for? One of our key goals is to provide a workforce which is equipped with market-ready skills. This was a big question even before the pandemic. It's all the more pronounced now. Skills and not degrees will shape the work of future. This all of us had already predicted. The right skills will be prized over academic qualifications alone. The slowdown offers employers an opportunity to reshape their hiring practices around this shifting screen. How well companies change their mindset will help define their future performance. And why are we talking about all this in the context of schooling? Because 10 to 15 years hence, the last child who's in school in class 1 today will be in the workforce. And it is a responsibility of a school to make children, apart from other things, ready for being employable with the right skills to be in the workforce, to be able to enjoy a life that the child seeks. Now, let me take a question in the chat. There's a link to a Jamboard will be posted in your chat box. I want responses to it quickly. What skills are we equipping our students with today for the workplace they will join between 2030 and 2040? Let me ask you all this question. Pause a second and please tell me. I repeat, there is a link to a Jamboard in the chat. Please tell me, what skills are you equipping your students with today for the workplace they will join between 2030 and 2040? Yes, I see one response out there. Communication, collaboration, critical thinking. Okay. I didn't get the name. Anupama, is it?
Kavita, ma'am.
Yeah.
Kavita,
Soft skills with thinking process enhanced. All right. Very good. That is in the chat. Then I have some random lines going across the Jamboard. Teamwork, yes. Technical skills, very good. Creativity, critical thinking, and resilience, very good. Neetu Singh Rajput. Creativity and teamwork. Technical skills, yes. Communication, collaboration, right? Independent behavior, social skills, soft skills, personality traits, environmental consciousness, collaboration. Wonderful. I think this question has resonated with many of you, and I can see the chat and the Jamboard filling up. I'll give you a minute to look at the responses in the chat and the Jamboard on your screen before we move on. Compassion, technological skills, teamwork, critical thinking, sensitivity, honesty, hard work, and yes, dedication, honesty. Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much for your responses. Thank you so much for your responses. So now let me take you through what LinkedIn 2020 has reported as the most sought after skills in this year. And mind you, this is the year of the pandemic. LinkedIn 2020 has listed 10 top workforce skills, the hard skills. Samiksha, are we there? Blockchain, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, video production, sales, UI and UX design are some of the top sought after skills today during the pandemic. And let's look at what are the soft skills that they have been reporting. Among the soft skills I see teamwork, collaboration, which many of you said, persuasion skills, emotional intelligence, adaptability, and creativity. This is what is the requirement of today. Now, what is the requirement 10 to 15 years hence when our children who are in our classrooms today will hit the workforce? So I want you to just think about what we are doing in our classrooms today in order to enable this generation to become productive and capable citizens tomorrow. Next. And this question, when are schools reopening? When are schools reopening? Samiksha ma'am, and can we have the video, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Children can go to school safely. We have seen it in other countries, but it does require, first of all, metrics for when you do send them to school, and having cases go down and be at a low level so your R0 is not 10 is very important. And the other is you do need an infrastructure. This can't just be we go back to the old style of 25, 30 kids in a classroom, no physical distancing, no face mask wearing. You need a particular plan. And when Betsy DeVos says, you know, the private sector does it, look, private sector has 10, 15, 20-page protocols, single-spaced with very detailed How are we putting people? How far apart are they going to be? We probably need to reduce class sizes to 15. We have to have kids wearing face masks. We have to have an arrangement for how they will eat their meals, probably in the classroom, not in a cafeteria. We have to figure out where the additional classrooms are going to be. What are we going to do about either physical education or recess times that kids need for a break? Do we keep them in pods, and how big are those pods? Those are all vital issues. What happens if one kid turns positive with symptoms, and who do we have to test? How do we track that? So you would expect a very detailed set of protocols and when you would trigger each step. But we got none of that for Betsy DeVos, none of that from the administration. And it's very disappointing. You can't expect every school district to do this without resources.
Thank you. And so let us look at this work from home excitement curve. Just to give you a break from serious thought. When we all began in the month of March to May has been reported as a period of deep adoption. June to July is when the realization and saturation struck in. And now there is deep resignation and acceptance. And however, I know that we're all longing to get to school. We're all missing working from school and think that syncing at work is a great thing, and it is a must, and collaboration in a physical space is extremely important. So I think the curve is kind of slowing off, and it's time for us to want to get back to school. And the next big question is, when are schools reopening? Is it post Diwali? Is it post Christmas? Is it post Republic Day, or the next academic year? Right? We took the opportunity of a week's time that I got between the postponement of my event last Monday to Wednesday, and I checked with some of the registered participants to let me know what they feel. And here is what they have to say. Amisha ma'am, video please.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, it's a very critical question, and at the same time, it's a very tricky one. The absence of physical schools has had a very deep impact on the minds of children in ways which are unexplained. It's not just the academic learning, but the other attributes and values that children pick up in a school, like empathy, working together with your peers, sensitiveness, emotional well-being, is something which they are surely going to miss out on. Having said that, children are very easy carriers of the virus, and it would be very crucial to evaluate the idea of exposing them to a school without a vaccine. So although the need for a physical school for children is as important, I think we might just need to wait on the decision of starting full-fledged schools until a vaccine for the virus is in place.
It is very important that we follow and adhere to norms laid down by central and state government very diligently. While I could analyze some of the norms laid down would be shorter hours, reduced strength, masks and sanitizers according to the SOP announced by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Whatever is the situation, in my opinion, I would rather say safety first would be my priority.
Since it's a futuristic question, as a parent, I would like to examine the pandemic situation and if the curve gets flattened and the school take all the necessary safety measures and the proper sanitization of the school is done on the regular basis, which I'm very sure that the school will do, I would prefer to send my child to the school.
All right, thank you. This is what some of you participants talked about, the reopening of school. Now, the real question is academics. What is it that we have lost and what have we gained? So what did we really lose? The next thread of conversation. And did we gain anything at all? Can we measure the impact of the COVID slide? This solution lies partly in technology. So then does the roadmap change? And is it all about academics only? So let's see, what did we lose academically? We'll all agree that we lost 6 months schooling, in-person school, 6 months of people and pupil interactions, schools which have not been able to offer the digital alternative. It means 6 months of complete schooling loss and no idea if any learning is happening. Students may even have forgotten what they learned before we closed, and some have gained, but many have lost. And I believe, and from the community of people who had registered for this webinar, I realized that ours are among the lucky ones. Our schools are among the lucky ones. Let's see what we have gained in the process also. I would not like to believe that we have lost everything. There's a new way of reaching our students. Virtual online learning and teaching. We picked up collaborator skills. We have picked up digital literacy. We have picked up research skills, communications, critical thinking, and are now working to making self-learners of our children and independent learners among them. Teachers as well as students have done a whole lot of things which we always knew were beneficial and we should be doing it, but we did not know at that point of time where to start. This transformation brought in by COVID has enabled what would not have been achieved even the next 10 years had it run the regular course. Yes, coming to academics again, can we measure the impact of the COVID slide? So what are the indicators? Because in the absence of any other data, I was just looking at the indicators that can tell us what is this COVID slide and can we measure it? Much as loath to buy the figure $10 trillion in the future, it will be a reduction in lifetime earnings. Yet I want to can we even fathom the global loss? Only then we will know the real damage long after we come back to school post-COVID. The indicator of the metrics of my conversation here is, I have seen that the board has reduced portions twice already. Students are idle and picking up wrong habits. In the absence of being with their friends or going out or even interacting or socializing, we have heard a lot of cases of children picking up wrong habits and also mentally and emotionally under impact. Board exams have been postponed. That's what we heard last week. That is likely to happen only in the month of June. This is also another indicator. And entry into the next levels are already getting delayed. We can see that entry into the next level classes are already delayed. So this is where it's very clear that there is a COVID slide, but what is how to measure it? I think time alone will tell us when they come back to school and when we have to face the real situation. Here, the real conversation is, has the roadmap changed? I want you to quickly tell me, in the event of all that has happened in the last 6 months, what is your thought process? Has the roadmap changed? There is a Menti link that is being shared with you in chat. Kindly use that link to respond. Has the roadmap to academics changed? Or schooling for that matter? I would like you all to quickly participate in this. That will give me an idea of what is happening on the other side. Okay, has the roadmap changed? I have people 65, 74 who are saying that the roadmap has changed. Yes, 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 yes. All right, okay. Some are not sure. But most of us believe that the roadmap has changed. Yes, we have a response still coming in. So I think a few more seconds, and I think we'll call a halt to this. We have enough responses. Yes. Let's come back. So it's very interesting here. What you have said is the roadmap has changed. Many of you, all of you, most of you believe that the roadmap has changed. Yes, but the driver has not changed. She'll still be the teacher. The destination has not changed. It is still learning and education. It is just that the right now that we are making, we have moved from one mode of travel to reach the child to another mode. And hybrid will be the way, a bit of the teacher and a bit of technology, a bit of the physical in-person school and some amount of remote learning. Thank you so much. Let's move to the next slide. Yes. So as we go along, the challenges that we face along the way. The next thread of conversation is around the challenges that we are going to be encountering on this journey. Technology access, bridging the chasm, budgetary overhaul, and school fees impact. Are we worrying unnecessarily? Is our worry completely misplaced? Is this an opportunity in disguise? What then are the workforce expectations? Will local then be the global? These are the questions that I want us all to have a discussion on. That was a bolt of thunder in the background. Yeah. So let's look at what IMF has to say. The International Monetary Fund, in its report, has said that this COVID has divided and made the divide a deep chasm. The fissure is getting deeper. There's a chasm within the country, between countries, and among nations. And lack of access has deepened the divide. I'm giving you these figures not to intimidate you, but to understand the global perspective of the COVID impact on schools. 50% of countries lack web access, either through mobiles or fixed line broadbands. Advanced countries like the UK, Germany, Canada, France, and the US have the highest access rates. And emerging economies show large disparity in of internet users, in the proportion of internet users. It is 2/3 in Brazil and 1/3 in India. So emerging economies like Brazil and India show large disparity in the proportion of internet users. In India, it is 1/3 of the population which has access to internet use. So can you imagine what is the proportion of the population that is actually using it for education? Now, these are figures that have come to us from IMF. I am not asking us to buy all these figures blindly, but this is only going to give us a small perspective as to the magnitude of the impact of COVID on learning in our country. We are among the privileged schools which have digital access and which have a digitally literate population. But this is what I am talking about is a larger context and enabling you with some perspective. Now, countries as the Sub-Saharan Africa or in Asia have lowest access to internet. So this is a hard reality. So the digital divide is more a chasm. The fissure is only deepening. Technology access will bridge this chasm. Technology has created this divide. Technology alone can bridge it. It will be able to support delivery. It will be able to achieve scale, and digital education plans will become chief stakeholders. This is what I see coming on in the next few months when we reopen. The future will go beyond brick and mortar schools. Technology will become the big pillar. By acquiring more students, learning will be tech-enabled. Data-rooted will purely be about critical thinking, technical skills, problem-solving skills, which most of you identified, and will be designed around each student. And it is technology that will go to the urban slums and rural hinterlands to reach that section who could not transition smoothly to digital learning in this pandemic. Yes, and how is it going to happen? Part of the solution, according to lies in technology, it's not only me, It's already been well researched and well thought out. I am also just following that because I've been closely looking at what is the solution to this problem. As a part of the solution, investment in technology will really take us through, because digital technology is the solution. We'll have to embed technologies as long-term infrastructures for teaching and learning, empower key providers of education, that is education infrastructure, platform, apps, content, and other services, decentralize education systems. So this is a very critical thing, which I found is very interesting. Decentralize education systems into connected networks where learning can be conducted across homes, schools, and other settings. So I feel perhaps school may not be the only agency offering education or teaching and learning. There may be more agencies, and this could happen across homes, across schools, of course, and several other settings which are yet to emerge. Using technology, we can collect data and expand use of data, analyze analytics, personalized learning, software, and use artificial intelligence in education. We can focus on human capital development for the digital economy and lubricate the learning to earning pipelines. Like mentioned earlier, we will have to bring out skills which will directly place them in the workforce, compatible with the workforce requirements. Yes. Next, the budgetary overhaul and impact on school fees. A very critical thing. Of course, we will have to make investments in job embedded professional developments. Again, buying technology and software for the school, hardware and software. Then we would have to have digital platform partners. Professional development will become a major investment schools will have to make. More number of trained teachers to be employed, acquiring digital brand partners, either by managements or the government. Either ways, this investment has to be made. And what are the returns that we can expect? I foresee, and which has been predicted, is there'll be high quality education, which is something that we will all be talking about very passionately. They have more students having access, and with scale, I feel, and I'm sure it will also impact access to schools and also impact school fees positively. In the sense, it should come down in a few years from now. Next. Yes, let's see what you people have to say. Are you worrying unnecessarily? Again, we took views of teachers who had registered for the seminar, and this is what they have to say. Are we worrying unnecessarily? Or it's just a part of an evolutionary change? Pandemics will come and pandemics will go. Education will go the bumpy ride once in a while and then totter back. Or should we step in and harness and leverage it to our advantage? Darwin's theory states that only the fittest will survive. Hence, in the fitness of things, we have to proactively seek and recalibrate to stay ahead if we wish to disseminate quality education. The video, please.
Ma'am, it is showing error in the video. It's not getting played.
Not able to play it? All right. No problem. We'll go ahead then. According to the American economist, Paul Romer, he calls this an opportunity in disguise. A crisis is a terrible thing to waste. I also see that opportunity, just as so many people across the globe have seen this opportunity in this pandemic. It's not all gloom. There is a ray of shining light out there. We only need to understand that we have to look at it in the other way also. And what is this opportunity? We'll come to that later. Let me look at the workforce expectations. Among the other objectives of schooling, a key expectation as discussed was the workforce expectations. What do we think about what would be the workforce expectations of the future? We must recalibrate and stay on guard to align ourselves to the workforce expectations of in 2030 to 2040 as they emerge. However, the basic framework of the 21st century skills continue to remain. More skills, new skills will get added here, just as many of you had also mentioned in the chat earlier. The 21st century skills, let me revise and let me take you through them, are the 4 C's: creative thinking, critical thinking, collaboration, cooperation, then the 3 L's, which are the literacy skills, internet, then media literacy, and then technological literacy, and flips, your flexibility, leadership, initiative, productivity, and social skills. So these would continue to be there as I see it. However, 10 years and 15 years in the future is a long time, and more skills will emerge. We will have to wait and watch, but basically these skills will enable them to be in readiness for anything that comes to them in the future, and any more pandemics also that strike the globe. Then will the local and the global be the same? From what we see today, a lot of local issues have become global, and a lot of global issues have become local. Wuhan was a local issue which became global, and what was the global issue has now become local also. Education, as we see, the virus as we see. So slowly the word global will become more visible, and all of us understand that some of the lines will of course be very, very distinct, but some lines may get blurred in the process. Now, what is important is challenging the mindset. What is important is what we require is a mindset change. We have to work on our teachers and parents. We have to prepare to look at old things in a new way. So that will pave our way for the future. Now, coming to the real part of today's discussion. It is about the new phase of schooling, the formula of the new model. Has the objective of schooling changed? Who then will be the catalyst in this change? What is the role change of stakeholders? Curricular pedagogy and assessment, are they undergoing a turnover? And what are the ingredients of the new formula? Who will catalyze this transformation? Government, boards, schools, parents, and our students themselves. I feel and I wish parents will have a greater stake in the decision making. There will be a huge compulsion for schools and regulatory authorities to adopt standard practices and a high degree of professional development. And lastly, the elements and how they will have to make over in their roles. So these will be the catalysts in the change. Next. Let me take a response from you all on chat. Will the objective of schooling change? Let us address the first question. Will the objective of schooling change? Chat, please. Just because the vehicle has changed, has the objective changed? No, no, no. Who thinks that the objective of schooling also changes because the way we are reaching the children has changed? Yes, in a way. That is interesting. Somebody has said yes, not at all. Many have said no, not at all, not at all. Emphatic, yes. I would like to hear from people who have said yes. Definitely needs to change, Archana. We need no. There are many who are saying no, but there are a couple of people very interestingly have said from teacher, children, yes. But I'm asking, have the objective of education, schooling changed? It will change partially, all right. It needs to change, very good, right? So we are having a conversation which is perhaps engaging everybody in different ways. Yes, because the framework has changed, all right. Let's look at it, Thank you so much for your responses. So according to me, the objective of schooling doesn't change. The objective of schooling doesn't change, but the way we are going to be delivering it is in for a complete overhaul, And let's see how we can catalyze this. And who will catalyze this? So who is going to catalyze this change, this transformation? Government, board, schools, parents, and students themselves. If you look at it, these are all the new stakeholders. Some of them remain the same, students, boards and the government, and the edge tech players. Educational technology players, I think, are going to be main chief stakeholders in the game called education, in the game called schooling in the future. Next. And what is the role change? Yes, like one of you mentioned in the chat, it is going to be student-centric and student-driven. Teachers will be facilitators and mentors with multiple skills. They will going to be multi-skilled. They will have micro skills as well as macro skills. They will be generalists as well as specialists. So the wide variety of skills and knowledge base entering the teaching fraternity is something that I see in a very big way, happening in a very big way. And skills of teachers will be more perfect and more refined. Parents, as I see, will have more choice. School stakeholders will have to recalibrate themselves. School stakeholders will have to recalibrate in order to fit in the new face of schools of the future. And yes, curriculum has to be more broad-based, more flexible, should be more inclusive, should be skills-based, aligned to workforce requirements, and pedagogy, of course, hybrid and blended learning will come in a big way, gamification, virtual reality, then augmented reality, personalized learning, and adaptive learning. And tech integration will change what they learn, how they learn, and how we measure their learning. Project-based learning for assessments, open book assessments, case studies, then group exams, presentations, apprenticeship, internships, and a skills-based progress report, and ability of students to design their own solutions. These will become a compulsory part of their assessments. This is how I see it. Now let's take a look at the new requirements, new skills requirement. Samikshama, will this video play?
It's showing error in every video.
Again, error? Okay. This was talking about the new skills that will become the norm of the day. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data analysis, and things like that, right? So I move on to the next slide. Right, on a lighter note, the biggest challenge today is online examinations. How do we measure what we are producing online? What is it that we are doing online? How do we measure the efficacy of what we are doing online? What we see across this is something which has been reported across the globe, is taking tests online. There's never a cheat-proof case. Children are perfecting the art of taking tests online. What does it matter if the end justifies the mean? For them, it is putting in practice all their 21st century skills. So we will have to redesign and recalibrate what examinations are. And I think that is where was the problem. And if that is addressed well, if that is addressed rightly, I think 80% of the solution also will be found there, because our assessments will drive the classroom, what is happening inside the classrooms. Now let's look at the ingredients of the new formula. What will happen when we come back to school within the next 6 months? The first steps, all of us are going to be engaged in bridging the gaps. And in this, we will have to use the teacher along with the technology. We would have to have several diagnostic tests to identify gaps, 2 to 3 times these tests may have to be administered in order to be able to identify gaps in all our children who are coming back to school. In whatever form and shape they will be coming back to school. We will be able to identify, we will have to be identifying learning setbacks, and we'll have to rebuild the SE quotient. A lot of time will go in going back and cracking off the ice and just clearing the snow before we move ahead. Just-in-time scaffolding, then accelerated learning, depends on how much time we are given to be able to put measures in place. Differentiated and personalized learning. This will be very, very pronounced and the need of the hour. Then standardized tests in order to ensure that all of us are back at the same levels, and focused skills development. Readiness, interest, and learning styles. Teachers will have to be trained to do the above using a blended classroom. Yes, the new phase of schooling, the formula for the new model. Embracing digital technologies, building a system that is more inclusive, reskilling the workforce, restructuring the hybrid blended learning formats, sensitive to social, emotional, and the cultural quotient, customizing learning, personalizing it, and adopting adaptive teaching learning. It is the adaptive teaching learning is the educational method which uses computer algorithms to orchestrate the interaction between the learner and delivers customized learning to the child, and depending upon the unique needs and individual requirements of every child. So all these elements will become a part of the new schooling. Should become and will become. We should not lose the opportunity that has fallen into our laps to reimagine the future, recalibrate the future. Because if we go back to school doing it the same way as we did, and then that is when we would have lost an opportunity. We would have completely lost the opportunity. I think this crisis is a wonderful opportunity for us to reimagine learning and take it forward, which is every teacher's dream school, where each school will be a utopia. On the whole, I predict a schooling system, and I'm deeply passionate. I very deeply and passionately predict a schooling system that takes care of every child personally. Every child's talent is recognized and boosted in a very conducive social, emotional, and cultural learning ecosystem, making learning relevant in the context of their present and the future they wish to create for themselves. Technology and the teacher will enable this, making learning relevant to the present. A wide variety of high quality academics and skills choice subjects of courses should be offered as credits in multi-age settings. This is how I would like it. A mix of super specialized teachers and generalist teachers, generalists, broad spectrum, highly trained qualified teachers, incentivizing teachers to improve teach quality. This will encourage self-paced learning among children, producing self-learners and independent learners, using the hybrid format and revamping education examinations as enablers to progress. That is a tall thing. It has a mix of everything that we all want as teachers. That is the utopia that I think we can create given this opportunity. And let's not let go of this opportunity in order to create a school where every child feels included. Every child can decide what he or she wants to pick up and do. He can do it at his own pace. He has a teacher who will enable him in every which way. He has a system which allows him or her to discover talent and be comfortable and reach his own potential. That is the kind of school that we should all aim for. And this is a wonderful opportunity brought to us by this pandemic. And let me quickly take you through what many amongst us in the audience, I hope this video plays, also talk about the school of their dreams. Samiksha, I hope this video plays.
Yes, I'm trying now.
All these videos played during our mock trials. I wonder why it's not playing now. Any luck?
Ma'am, I'll just try again. No, ma'am, it's some error it is showing.
Nancy, can you take it up and play the video? Nancy,
yes,
ma'am, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Nancy, ma'am, you can share the screen. I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, sure.
Just try it. Please give us a moment while we sort this out.
Yeah, till then, if anybody has questions for ma'am, take this time to actually put down your question in the chat box. And if we get time, we'll definitely get them answered. So take the couple of minutes that we've got now and perhaps just put in your questions in the chat box and we'll have them answered soon.
You can perhaps stop share this screen and play the video in its raw format if that's necessary. So you can stop this presentation and play the video if it's saved on the desktop of your laptop.
All right. And in the meanwhile, if there are questions, I'll be happy to take questions, or we can also have a small discussion.
Ma'am, I'm ready. Can I play the video?
Yes, yes, please play.
What is your idea of a utopian classroom?
Is it audible, ma'am?
It's not audible.
Louder?
It's not audible.
Yeah.
Just give me a moment, ma'am.
Not audible.
What is your idea of a utopian classroom? What is your idea of a utopian classroom?
Utopian classroom is a sphere of knowledge and learning. Teachers to reflect and rethink their teaching learning strategies. Students as stakeholders to take responsibility and look at self-paced learning, independent learning, and of course, parents as stakeholders have to participate more actively than before. We can, for example, concentrate on research skills, collaboration skills, critical thinking, logical reasoning skills for our students, and that must be the focus in the years to come.
Willful but not mandatory inclusion of children from all economical strata.
Classrooms with more than 8 students, where learning is a scream of joy, where discovering facts is the norm, where technology is used to explore much more beyond the curriculum.
Where not information but knowledge is not poured but is put forth in such a way that every student is able to absorb it at his own pace like a sponge.
Thank you. Finally, we managed to play it. It could have been better. However, the audio quality could have been better. Anyway, thank you so much. The Rig Veda says there are 2 ways by which knowledge can be imbibed. One is from an able guru, and second is through self-study. And both are now going to be enhanced through the integration of technology. With this, I end today's conversation, and I will be happy to take on a few questions. Thank you so much for being present here today, this evening. And it's been a wonderful 1 hour of conversation with all of you. I see that there is Sapna Sri Kumar who says the flip side of technology, which we are all facing today, is perhaps poor connectivity. I think Sapna, in times to come, things will change. If so much has happened, I'm sure that too will get addressed. Thank you so much, Lata. I hand over the space back to you.
Thank you, ma'am. In case anybody has a question, this is your time to ask Asha, ma'am. But I think it was so interesting because your whole presentation was so data driven that it was backed with so much of statistics that it's actually been a bit of an eye opener for all of us. There is some really good feedback coming in from Facebook also, where participants are saying that the session has been really informative for them. So thank you for that. If anybody has a question, feel free to put it in the chat box. Ranjini ma'am, yes.
Good evening, Ranjini ma'am. You know, I started out my teaching career when, and Ranjini ma'am was my principal. For 10 years, we have worked together. So a lot of what I am today has been conditioned by all her leadership traits. Ranjini ma'am, good evening.
Lata ma'am, I think you need to unmute her.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Everything that you said was very good. A lot of preparation has gone into it. Excellent. Just on a lighter note, I want to share with you what my granddaughter said, okay, to online learning. She's only 6 years old. And this is what I asked her. I said, baby, can you just tell me what you felt about learning online? She's written this. She's 6 years old, and she said, her thing is remote school sucks. She's in the US, and she says, yes, today I'm not happy. It's remote day. We only work while the others get to work and play. While we go for PE, we get breaks. It's not fair. We don't have what it takes. This is from the voice of babes. Okay? While this one thing, yeah, this is just a following that's written.
Correct.
Can you see me? I've unmuted myself. I've kept my visual, but somehow I'm not able to see myself.
We can see you clearly, ma'am.
Okay, all right, fine. I just had one question, Asha. See,
yes,
while technology is a great enabler, and I'm glad that all of us are here today to, use the benefits of technology. But somewhere I'm just a little afraid. Maybe I'm old school. I'm just a little afraid that in this process of trying to jump onto this technology bandwagon, we shouldn't lose our social skills, which is the bedrock of all education. We're going to have a lot of people who are very talented, very intelligent, and extremely capable, but they're going to become social misfits. This is my fear. I may be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But because, see, I'm at the twilight of my career. You people are all there at the top, so you would know better.
You are absolutely right, ma'am. It is not technology alone. It is technology with teacher.
Yes.
So
I'm
hoping, have teacher, and technology will enable the teacher.
Absolutely.
To take away the drudgery from her role. Right. And when we achieve scale, we will be able to provide access to all the other 2/3 of the country today, which is not having that access.
I only hope that India jumps onto this and we have enough, because even today in a metropolitan city like Mumbai, many of the government schools don't have, though they say hum ye kar rahe hain, wo kar rahe hain, nothing is happening.
Yeah,
nothing is happening.
The fortunate ones, and I think if we are able
I know you said that we are very, very, very fortunate, and inshallah all these things will be better in time to come. Thank you, Asha. That was very good. You had a very good presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. If we do well, we will be able to lead the rest of the country.
Yes, perhaps, God willing, we'll do that.
I want us all of us who are in a better position today to understand the huge responsibility that has upon us to reinvent and reimagine learning for the future. So we are able to take along everybody along with us.
It's true.
That is when we will be true leaders.
But this work from home has got one major disadvantage because it's blurred all lines.
Yes.
And, you know, I'm just playing devil's advocate, okay? Because I just want you to know that I'm all for this. But I'm just trying to see what are the, we've spoken about all the nice things.
Yes.
But what is happening, it's made inroads into all our times. And I'm not going to say anything more. Otherwise, others, you know, people say she's saying this and everyone will be, you know, they don't have time to talk.
No. I think it was a great session, and Ravi ma'am played the devil's advocate in terms of bringing the light or showing us the mirror. But rightly, like Asha ma'am said, that this is the time when, technology and all that, what was spoken in the wonderful session by Asha ma'am has to be coupled with teacher training, and you know how the privileged ones can handhold teachers and show them the new light will be crucial over here while we're talking about artificial intelligence and self-learning and the self-paced individualized learning and all of those aspects, which is rightly put in. I think how the teacher takes it is going to be the key factor over here. And when I was speaking to Asha ma'am almost about a month back about this session, she was very clear about things like when classrooms open up, how are we going to face this? The key challenges that are required. I think we all are talking about it. And Asha ma'am rightly pointed out what are the key challenges that teachers are going to face. But more such talks are only going to prepare us for seeing what is going to be in the classroom. Children have missed out so much. Children have missed out the individual learning, the pace of the teacher.
Peer learning, they've missed out.
Peer learning is missed out. So there's going to be a lot of challenges that teachers are going to face. And I think sessions like this is only going to prepare them to face the reality when it comes to opening, which we do not know when it will happen. So thank you everyone for logging in for this wonderful session. Thank you, Asha ma'am. Thank you, Ranjini ma'am. All of the participants who have been here with us, and so happy that in spite of it having changed the day, we have had so many participants log in. So that truly speaks about your, fan following. I would put it simply as that, Asha ma'am. And thank you everybody from ABEA.
Thank you, ABEA. Thank you, Anuradha. Thank you, Pradipto. Thank you, Lata. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody in the audience.
Thank you. It was our pleasure to host you, ma'am.
Thank you, Nancy, Samiksha, and Bhranti.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you to your entire team. It went off really, really well. Thank you so much.
Okay. You're not audible to the audience now, no?
You are, ma'am. Everybody's still logged in. We'll just end. Thank you.